Here is a lesson on how to solve equations where square roots are needed. This is another one from my 2020 distance learning series. Check it out. We're going to solve equation by using square roots. So let's start off with this one. This is going to be different to chapter 9. If this was chapter 9, we've already done these questions, haven't we? How did we do this question in chapter 9? This is how we did it. We liked everything equal to 0, right? We wanted something times something equaling 0. What we did was we took that number over here, so we would have got 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. Then what did we do? We factored out a common factor if we could. So we could take out a 3 here, x squared minus 9 equals 0. And can we factor any more? Yes, this is like a squared minus b squared, which factors to x plus 3 times x minus 3 equals 0. And so what's the final solution here? Well, this could be 0, or this could be 0, or this could be 0. So we only get solutions from these two. X plus 3 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0, which gives us the solutions x equals negative 3 or x equals positive 3. We're going to do that same question again now using square roots, a different method, okay? All we want to do is get the x squared alone by itself. We can't always do that for quadratics, but for this type we can. What I'm going to do is, since we've got 3 times x squared, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, and the 3's will cancel, leaving me x squared equals 9. And then we have this new magic step. What we do is we take the square root of both sides. If I square root x squared, I'm just going to be left with x. And then if I square root this, I'm going to end up with radical 9. But if I have something squared equals 9, what can go in here? 3 works. Does anything else work? Negative 3 also works. So whenever you do the step from here to here, it's important that you put the plus or minus in. And this gives us a final answer of plus or minus 3, okay? So it's the same as that, we get 3 or negative 3, right? But for chapter 10, these types of questions, this is how we're going to do them, using square roots. What are we going to do here? So here, instead of getting everything equal to 0, we just want to get the variable squared by itself. So p squared equals, and we're going to get 12 minus 12. And we're going to end up with 0 on the right anyway. But anyway, square rooting 0, root 0 is 0. Okay, so that's pretty easy. P is going to be plus or minus root 0, which is 0 anyway. And we just get the one solution. P equals 0. And C, what about C? Same thing, a squared equals, we want to get a squared alone, minus 4, and the minus 3 is going to come over and become plus 3. A squared equals minus 1. Can we take a radical of negative 1? A equals plus minus radical negative 1. If you try that on a calculator, you're going to get an error or some sort of math error. Okay, so actually there is no solution here. No solution. So whenever you get the radical of a negative, or a radical inside a negative rather, you're going to get no solution. D, a little harder. Okay, we just want to get x squared alone again, so we've got to get 25 times x squared. How do we undo 25 times something? We divide by 25. 25's cancel, leaving us with x squared equals 49 over 25. What do I do? Here I do my square root, plus or minus radical 49 over 25. How do I do a radical on a fraction? Well, there's a rule for this. It's very simple. If I'm going to do the radical on a fraction, it's the same as an exponent. Okay, if I'm going to do a over b all squared, what do? I square the top and I square the bottom. If I want to do a radical to the top and the bottom, you just do the radical of the top and the radical of the bottom separately. Okay? And there's a really cool way to say this. You could say that the radical of the quotient equals the quotient of the radicals. It's a pretty cool way to say it. This is just going to be, we don't need the step in between. What's radical 49? 7. What's radical 25? 5. And that is fine. Okay, you can leave it as an improper fraction. So we're just solving, but we're going to round our answers to the nearest hundredth where needed. So you're going to need a calculator today. What we're going to do is same as last time, except we just got another couple of steps to do here. We want to get x squared alone. And when we get that x squared alone step, we're just going to get our plus or minus radical something, okay? And we're even going to use our calculator if we don't get a nice whole number this time. So what we're going to do here, let's get x squared alone. First thing we're going to move is the 10. So 2x squared equals, let's move this minus 10. It's going to go to the other side and become plus 10. 2x squared equals 16. Now we have, same as last time, 2 times x squared. How do I undo 2 times? Because I want to get x squared alone. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And that 2's are going to cancel out like so. Leaving us with x squared equals 8. All right, now, if x squared equals 9, that's easy, but this is not a nice perfect square number, is it? So what we're going to do is x equals plus or minus radical 8. And when you get to here, just go to your calculator. Depending on the type of calculator you have, I like to use this really cool Google, you can just use this online Google calculator for your homework if you like. You just hit 8 and then press the radical button, or it depends on the type of calculator, maybe you push the radical button first, then the 8, then equals. And you will end up with plus or minus, and the answer is 2.83. Okay, so that's giving us 2 answers there. We've got a positive solution and a negative solution. If you like, you could even write it separately, 2.83 or negative 2.83. That is also fine, but plus or minus can save you some writing. Okay, and that's it. Similar to last time, except there's one extra step here, but B is a little harder. We've got the brackets here, which is a bit scary. Here we want to get x plus 6 all squared alone first, okay? And then we sort of do the steps in a different order here. So to get x plus 6 all squared alone, I've got to get rid of this 4. Now be careful, you see that the 4 is not inside the brackets, so the 4 is not getting squared. Let's just divide both sides by 4, which will give us, cancel, x plus 6 all squared equals 32 divided by 4, 4 8s are 32. And now what we do, it's the same step as from here to here, except we've got brackets here. The x plus 6 is going to be plus or minus radical 8. And just be careful here, this is different. We still want to get x alone. Now we move the plus 6 over. Plus or minus radical 8 minus 6. Does that make sense? And now what we do is we need our 2 separate answers, but we can't do it in one step. We've got to split these up into 2 separate answers. So what I'm going to do is write one over here with a plus here, and then I'm going to write another one over here with a minus here. So my 2 solutions are going to be positive radical 8 minus 6, or x equals negative radical 8 minus 6. Okay, and we're going to use the calculator to get these two. All right, so again, just go to your calculator, however you're using it. I'm going to use a Google calculator, and I'm going to type it in. Radical 8 minus 6 equals, and my first answer is negative 3.17. Okay, and that is rounded to the nearest hundredth. Nearest hundredth means 2 decimal places, by the way. The second decimal place. And my other answer, I'm going to go to my Google calculator again. Radical 8, somehow put the negative in front of it. I think you've got a plus minus button there somewhere. Get that answer, that should be a negative number. Then subtract another 6 and you'll end up with negative 8.83 after you round that off. Okay, and so we've got 2 separate answers this time. We can't use that plus or minus symbol now. We have 2 negative answers, okay? Negative 3.17 or negative 8.83.